Okay, so let's get started. Good evening. This is Sam. I'm going to do today's the class on this live project sessions. Okay, welcome all. All right, let's get started. So today part of this session, the agenda is we're going to discuss what these project sessions are about, who is going to get benefited out of these project sessions, and what's the intention of doing these project sessions. So these are the things that we're going to discuss. So first I'm going to explain a scenario, right? And then I have the PowerPoint presentation. We'll go few slides that gives you overview like what these presentations are. Then at the end, I'm going to take up any questions so that I'm able to happy to answer any of your questions about these sessions. All right. So first of all, let's look at the scenario. I know many of you might have gone through the kind of training programs where we took Infosys or some other training institutes. At the end of the training, even I used to get few questions. Right? Even I am also part of the faculty like who did these training programs since long. So like I get a question. So what is the next step, right? Whatever your status could be, like whether you undergone this training, right? Completed this QA training, or you are a homemaker and you want to do you want to start your career in IT. For that, like maybe you did some training in QA or BA, or could be you finished your graduation, or you're a fresher student, or like you already worked for some days in IT, like you want to take a break and you want to resume your career again in IT. So whatever the status could be, I know like it's a mixed response. Obviously, the big question is like the people used to ask me like first, most of the questions I got from here, right? At the end of the training program, obviously the bottom line, if you attend any training program, is to get into a job. Right? You want to take a break in your career and you want to start your next career in this PA. Then the things comes like maybe you might look at any of these job portals, right? The things comes the experience. The people asked ask me, okay, I don't have any experience. I'm a fresher, but I took this training. Then how can I get into this IT as a express paper? Or the people ask like, okay, am I eligible for any kind of fresher entry-level positions? Typically, the answer is no. The reason behind any kind of this entry-level startup positions are meant for those people like who completed right the graduation or like who are just fresh out from the college. The companies intend to look for those positions for the people who are out from the college. Then if you took a break, like okay, either like you worked for a few years back or you did your graduation long back, and then there is a time gap between the way like how you completed your masters or bachelor's, and now you took your training program. There is a gap. Then the bottom line is you have to have hands-on experience. So that's where like the next question is how to get those hands-on experience, how to success, because getting a break into the field is one, and survival on the job is the second thing. So the first thing is like how to get a break. So where to get this hands-on experience? So that's where like we are today. Part of this session, we're going to discuss where to gain the hands-on experience, and then what kind of experience really needed, and how is the job market. So when you look at today, right, the job market is really good. What it means is there are a lot of positions in the market. Typically speaking, like even we couldn't get the right candidate to fit into the position. The thing is, obviously, like you're going to prepare a resume. That first thing is like you prepare a resume in a professional way, and the second thing is, right, resume preparation. So how to prepare and what to put in the resume, like the experience, your skills, and the projects. Right? These are the three main things. Your skills comes first, and then project experience. What are the recent project experience? And your resume always looks simple, right? Not exceed 3 pages, or you can also limit to 2 pages. Not very limited resumes. That is the bottom line. Even if you prepare 6-7 resumes, nobody will go through all the 6-7 pages, what you put on the 7th page. So that's where your first and second page, what you summarize about your skills, about your experience, that's very important thing. Having said that, your resume also, like the first, assume like you prepare your resume just 2 pages, and each and every word is a keyword, right? So if you look at typically today's job market, right, what are the typical requirements? I know you might have going through dice.com, career builder, or Indeed, whatever the job portals. Typically they are going to ask, hey, do you have experience to work in a agile environment, or the scrum processes, or how comfortable you are with working with SQL, right? And then knowledge on Unix, then Jira tool for defect tracking, or some kind of tools like, say, we can name it like the version 1 or the TFS, any kind of tools, right, for the test case management. And then on top of this, good communications. And then these are the technical skills. And the second thing they are going to ask about is the domain skills. So what is a domain, right? Domain is nothing but the business, like where the customer is in, right? We call it like banking domain, healthcare domain, or telecom domain, different other things, right? So whatever that customer business is, right? If you look at the banking companies, banking projects, they are in banking domain. So they are going to ask, okay, banking knowledge. But when it comes to this, right, these are the kind of the desirable qualifications. That means what it means is like anything that they put as the desirable qualifications, that means it's something like you better to know, nice to have. Even if you don't have, you get trained. on the project. But whereas you say like, okay, you worked on your design, but you say, no, I don't know what it is. Doesn't make any sense. That's where actually, whenever you prepare a resume, you look at the job description, this is what actually they're asking. Your resume should reflect these things as the keywords. That means what the HR is going to do, obviously it's a very competitive, right? There are positions, but each position is competitive nowadays. That means how you are going to ahead of the crowd. You have to show some typical skills in your resume, right? So definitely like you're going to put these keywords, right, in the resume, in your 2 pages resume. And then obviously it's, okay, that means they are going to search with these keywords, then your resume is filtered. Then one fine day, you get a call, right? Okay, so we got your resume, and then we'd like to talk. That's what actually typically in my experience, right? The people fail to do that. They couldn't explain what they put in the resume. This is my personal experience, I'm saying. Whereas part of my professional career, right? I do those things, the interviews, that stuff. This is what my experience is. Just hardly it's going to take just a couple of minutes to find out whether you are a good candidate or not. Just 2 minutes, right? They explain a lot of things in the resume. They put a lot of things in the resume, but they couldn't speak. They're unable to speak. They say like the Jira. Then they're going to ask simple question, right? Okay, how you put a story point in Jira? What is your story point? Then you say, story point. Then you murmuring for 2 minutes, and then finally you say, I don't know. That's it, right? Then that person will came to know whether you really worked in the Jira or you worked in Azure. So that is where like these are the very important things. It's not something like you prepare a resume is not a big deal. Even you prepare a resume that weight more than the person who worked really in 20 years, right? That's what actually like sometimes I wonder. When I look at the resumes, right? Even I cannot compete with those resumes. That's how actually the resumes are prepared. But the bottom line is you have to really explain what you put in a resume. Then where to get that experience, where to get that? Because how you are going to confidently say that? I worked on Jira. If you work on that tool, right? Hands-on experience is very important. Because concepts like theory is different from hands-on. If you work on that tool, you confidently say, okay, yes, this is where I'm going to put the story point. How you estimate the story points. So the hands-on experience is really important. Or you do different types of testing, part of your training. Regression testing and retesting. That's what you're going to put in your resume. Very highly experienced in SDLC and highly experienced in doing different types of testing. Right? Say regression testing, retesting, blah, blah, blah. Then the interviewer is going to ask how you performed your regression and retesting in your project. Or what's the critical bug you identified when you do the testing. The people used to say, right? Okay, when I put the username and password, I get another message. That's not a critical bug. You talk something else. It's not always login screen. There is a lot of good functionalities when you look at any application, right? Just speak about those critical bugs, right? Something like you talk about the banking application, part of the integration testing, right? I executed different workflows. So when I do the balance transfer money, then I come back and check balance is not updated. Or when you look at healthcare applications, right? Say doctor submits a report, but patient is not able to use the report. Or admin submits a claim. but insurance provider did not receive the claim. So the kind of critical bugs are always we have to talk, because the people will stop at just the login screen. So these are things actually you have to really pay attention, because when you talk about login screen, that means you don't know inside what the application does, right? You need to understand what the application architecture, what is the client, what is the server, and what is the web service, right? Typically any application is three-tier architecture. So you need to understand the application architectures, how this application works. Then you confidently say, okay, I understand these three layers. And what is this web service is? Communication, right? How you talk to the other friend, right? There should be a language. That language is nothing but your web service. Whatever the browser like you see, right? That browser, right? Whether it's a Chrome or something, you open the application, that's a client. You put your username and password. How that will be communicated to the backend, database or the server via web service. Web service is nothing but an XML language. That's how it's going to talk to the server, right? It's a communication. Then the server will understand what the username and password that the client is using. That's what it's going to check in the database. That's how you're logging successful or not. These are the things you have to really talk about. Like, if someone says like, okay, you entered the username or password, you got an error message. Then as a QA, what is your next step? You have to further dig into the problem, whether this request really sends to the server via web service or not. Is the web service is working properly? Or is the server is handling your request properly? Or is this username and password really exist in the database or not? This is where, like, if you understand this, wherever you go, right, I bet you will be successful. And you will be confident, right? Whatever the job you take, whatever the domain it is, it doesn't matter, like whether it's a banking domain or a telecom or insurance domain or healthcare domain. This is the architecture. Technically, like, you should be strong. Don't worry about the domain stuff. Domain stuff, once you get into the project, you automatically get trained. Then in a couple of weeks, you know what that project is. But these are the things you should understand. Because this is the typical architecture, right? Where you go client, server, and database. If you understand these three layers, how to test, that's it. So that is what, like, today we are going to talk about, right? We have such projects from IIT Workforce. So what we do here, we have healthcare, telecom, and banking projects. So you're going to work on those projects, right? You can take, like, okay, say for example, you're going to work on a healthcare project. You get your project documentation that contains the user stories, the requirements. The day one, you will be part of the team, 8 to 10 members team. And then either myself or somebody else is going to be the lead of the project. These are the live projects. And we have a client, basically IIT Workforce developed these projects for the clients. And there are some requirement changes and there are some bug fixes happening. That's why we are getting the builds. So you will get a chance to work on those builds. That's why you will be given an opportunity to work on these projects, do your regression testing or do your retesting, right? And what are the tools that we talked here? You're going to start the day one that you're going to work with this Agile, the Scrum processes, and you will be given access to the database. That's where you're going to write different SQL queries. And all these applications are always going to run on Unix. That's where you will get a chance to look at really what the log files are, how the log files looks like, right? And what are the different Unix commands you are going to run. What are the shell scripts? How to run those shell scripts to start and stop the servers. That's why you're going to learn those commands and get the hands-on experience, or how to log a defect in Jira, how you're going to properly communicate, and then how to create a good test scenarios using the tools like version 1. So this is what, like, you're going to do this hands-on experience. This is the first block, what you see here. Work on those projects for 8 to 10 weeks. So during this 10 weeks time, you're going to work on these tools, work on this project, part of the team, gain that hands-on experience, then build your resume. That's what I started, right? Once you have this hands-on experience, whatever you learn, you put that in your resume. Then you confidently talk about your resume, your profile. Yeah, these are the tools I worked, and this is what I know. And we talk about what are the critical defects, right? And then you go for your next assignment. So anyway, these are the things we already talked. That's why I'm just explaining. So this is what actually we do part of these sessions. You're going to work on these tools, and every week you're going to prepare your presentations, right? PPTs. What the work you did for that week, you present to the team. That way, two ways it's going to help. One way is that improves your communication and improve your confidence, and at the same time it's going to improve your technical skills. And also, why we do these presentations. So for example, you completed this session for 10 weeks, right? You tested the build and you have done this project. Then you're ready to take the next assignment, right? You got the next assignment you got. Then your worry is, okay, what I did on the first week of this project. You forgot, right? Whereas if you have this presentation, you simply open the presentation, what you did on the first week of this project. You go through it, you try to recollect, and then go confidently to that interview. That's why we are going to do these demos and every week. So you are going to work at least the minimum, again depends on 2 to 3 hours every week, every day, 2 to 3 days, every day effort you are going to put. It all depends again. Some people might put 5 to 6 hours, but assume your dedication is very important in this project sessions. Where every day we're going to do this Scrum status meetings. So you have to come with your assignment status for the status meeting next day. And you'll be given a user story, right? Something like this. So we have very good user stories. So you will be given a user stories like this. Then you are going to come up with your test cases. Each person is going to get different user story. And we are going to do this complete test life cycle involving different types of testing. So next thing you are going to come up with the status, right? And we're going to discuss about any issues. And then towards the end of the sessions, right, 10th week or so, we are going to have this Skype one-on-one sessions. That's where we are going to just go through your resume in that stuff, and also if you have any personal questions, right, all those things will be addressed in that one-on-one sessions. Then once your resume is ready, then again you are going to send the resume. We have an email, so you can send that resume to that email ID so that also review. So then sometimes what happens is when you submit your resume to the next client, right, the client might ask some references. So that's where you're going to get the references from IIT Workforce saying that you worked on this project. Okay, so that's what we are going to do at a very high level. And this way we're going to use different tools and this stuff. Okay, so this is what actually your journey is. Today you are here. You're going to enroll for this project. Then you get trained. I know some of you might have questions. Whatever you explain, that sounds very good. But I don't know what the Jira tool is. Then how can I work on that tool? Or I don't know how to test the Unix box. What are the different Unix commands I should run? That's where you get trained also on the tools. That's what actually we mean in reality, right? You go to a project. It's not something like everybody, all the people should know everything. You go to a project and you don't know some of those things. That's why like you get trained on those tools, on the project. That's why like you're going to finish your assignments. So that's what exactly we are going to do here. You get trained on those tools, then work on your assignments, gain experience, build your resume. Okay. So that's why like say even offline, like you can contact at this email for any questions related to these project sessions. Okay, this is the phone contact and this is the email contact. Right. So now I'm going to take any of your questions. So here I got already some questions. How long this project session is going to be? It's going to be around 2 months. Okay, it's going to be 2 months project. That's why like we are expecting a bill. So you're going to test that bill. Every day, how many hours and what time? So the timings not at schedule because we got already 4 team members are ready. So we're looking for another 3 to 4 team members. So once we get those 3 people also enrolled, then we are expecting a bill fully around 10th of this month that you will be part of the team, start testing that bill. In this project, what are the modules that you are going to work on? Basically, like we have different modules. Say talking about healthcare project. So we have these modules at a high level, like patient, admin, and doctor. And also like because like we have 2 different applications. One is the doctor's office, the other one is insurance provider. So that means like you're going to submit, suppose like you do the integration testing within the module, right? So for example here, like it's between patient and admin, right? Admin create a fee, right? Admin create a fee. Then patient should be able to pay that fee. That's what you are going to do, this integration testing between the modules within the application. And then we do testing across the applications. That's where you submit the claim, right? Admin submits the claim so that the insurance provider is able to view that claim or update the claim. That way, that is across the applications. So we do testing within application, we do testing within across the applications, and also we are going to test how these applications are going to communicate each other. Again, web services. We test the web services, and we have a database that is running on SQL, MySQL server. So that's where you're going to write SQL queries and to retrieve the data from database. And we're going to use the version 1 tool to write all our test scenarios. And also we're going to maintain a team roster. That's where all the project documentation will be shared with you. And like as I mentioned, right, so it's an open communication that we're going to set up a team, emails, and we communicate each other for any issues. We are going to look at the tools, either you can get help from the other team member or you can get that help from the lead. And we do these sessions mostly every day. That means like we're going to do everyday Scrum meetings on weekdays. So the session is going to be around an hour. First, talk about the status of your assignments. And then we're going to talk about any issues. Then we're going to talk about the next assignments. And then maybe you get 1 or 2 special sessions during that week to train on different tools, right? Because you also get training. Sometimes if it needs more than an hour, we do these training sessions on weekends. Okay, because weekdays, right? 1 hour sessions is not enough sometimes to do these trainings. Maybe we need a test stretch like 2 hours or 3 hour session, right? That in that case we do weekends to finish those trainings. Here, like I got a question like automation. currently, like as such, automation is not in the scope on this project because we are just doing manual testing. But given a chance, I'm going to give you the introduction. Let's try to automate a couple of scenarios as well. Okay. Probably it's not UFT. We are going to do in Selenium, but it's not yet decided because it's a manual test project as of now. The scope is manual testing, but if anything that comes up while you work on this project, right? If anything that needs automation, probably you get some introduction on that too, so that you can explore further on that. Okay. The project is going to start around 10th of this month, like as I mentioned, right? We're getting a build with some of these fix, bug fix, and also the seems like there might be some requirement change as well. This is the demo. Okay, the one that you're looking at is the demo. So around 10th, we are going to have first session. That's where like you will get a chance to see really the application and also the requirements and everything. No, currently like the Selenium is out of scope for this project, but like I mentioned, right, probably you get some introduction on the Selenium tool, like how to automate. Okay, the current scope of this project is manual testing. You can contact at this mail ID, okay, for any questions, so that if you need my attention, then all your questions will be routed to me as well. This is the point of contact. That's where like the project admin guys are going to look at your queries, and then they are going to route any questions to me. So how to enroll? Yeah, just contact this number or this email, so that you will get the other things answered, like, because those are the admin people. They will let you know how to enroll for this project. Okay, so that's about the daily demos, and no, this is just QA sessions, because we are testing this project actually, not BA, Monica. It's not the regression testing. You are going to do the several testings here, including the regression retesting, because there are some bug fixes. We have to do the regression testing to make sure that bug is fixed, and we do the regression testing to execute other test cases too. And we do the system testing across applications, like doctor's office and the insurance provider. We do the integration testing between the modules. That way, just you are involved in the complete test life cycle here. Yes, currently, like, I mean, the timings is not yet scheduled, because we're expecting the other 2-3 members also join. Then we all have a session to discuss on the timings. So that every day, like, we're going to have the status meetings and the stuff, like, based on everybody's availability. That's what, like, how much is going to be, please contact these admin guys. I don't know about those things. How to enroll, like, that's their job. I'm not into that. I'm just here technical lead for this project. So any kind of technical questions, I'm happy to answer. That's what, like morning times, it's not, these are not the morning. Hopefully, like we don't have any morning sessions. It's going to be in the evenings. That's what, like we're going to decide upon the timings, but not in the mornings. How many days in the week? Going to be, that's what, like we're going to have these sessions as of now, thinking to do it every day. And also every day, like we're going to have 1 hour session to begin with, and weekends, not every weekend. Again, we are going to decide in the session, in the session, right, with everybody. If anything needed training, then we are going to discuss in the session and plan for that weekend training program. Otherwise, most of this project status meetings and the assignments, issues discussion, everything is on the weekdays. Weekends, training on need basis. They're getting harder to do work. That's what, like even I mentioned before, we have a team roster. That's where you're going to post your question, or the other communication is by emails. So that either you get help from other team member, or you get help from lead. That's because it's an open communication and it's a team effort. It's not the individual effort. So that just we want to make sure everybody's successful in the team. Yeah, Rohit, we're going to discuss on the timings. So as of now, nothing is fixed. Don't worry about those timings. Tentatively, the starting date is around December 10th. That's where like we're expecting the project and everything gets ready. Okay. All right. Seems like a lot of questions. I hope I answered most of your questions. But still, if you have any questions, even offline also, yeah, just you can shoot an email at this email ID, or you can also talk over phone at this phone number. So that still, if you have any further questions about the enrollment stuff, right? So all your questions will be answered offline also. So what is that software? Software is typically we're going to use these ones. Like we're going to follow this as well. Like for SQL, like we're going to use tools like Toad or the SQL developer. We can use any of those tools. Unix, we are going to use PuTTY to look at the server logs. Jira we are using. So we are using version 1 for the test cases. Okay, that's it. And along with this, like we're going to use some development tools also, because those are the things actually you should know. And for web services, we are going to use some browser plugins itself. So no need to install any hard tools or something. Okay, so we're going to use here development tools, because we're going to test the mobile version of this application. That's what actually focusing this build, because they want something to be done on the mobile version, compatible versions. Just we are going to do some minimal testing on these mobile versions, and then yeah, pretty much these are the things like we're going to do. So development tools are pretty simple. It's like, say, if you look at any of these portal, right? Look at the development tools nowadays, right? everything, most of the tools, the plugins that comes with the browser. My browser is taking long. Because the tester should, nowadays, their companies really want the tester should know these development tools for debugging and escalating the issues. But this browser is taking long. No, 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 not Visual Studio, no, because Visual Studio, those things are very big things. Development tools are very simple. That comes with the browser actually. You're not going to install any software or anything. Actually, my browser is choking up. Okay, so basically development tools are pretty simple. Say, for example, like okay, so you go to any of these sites, right? Say Gmail. Then say you are testing this login functionality, right? Then what happens? You put the username and password. Yeah, we are going to write the test cases. That's where we are going to use the version 1 tool to write the test cases based on the user stories. Something wrong. This project is not working. No. Meeting is not on Skype. Meeting is on the WebEx, like how we are doing today. We're going to have the sessions like this. Everything is via WebEx. Daily stand up and there. Okay, I'm sorry, actually, next this browser is choking. I don't know why. Actually, like say if you go to this, you see the three dots button, right? For these browsers, like you will get there's the development tools. Next, if you go here, right? So if you go to the more tools, then you see there's a developer tools. So if you, how the developer tools are useful from QA perspective. Say, like we're talking about here, just signing into the Gmail or something, right? You put the username and password, right? How this request will go? Obviously, it has to go to this Gmail database, right? That's where it's going to check whether your username and password exist in the database or not. That means your request has to go to the Gmail server. So how this request goes? Anyone? We talked, right? In the initial session, in the beginning of the session. How this request goes? You put your username and password. Right? This is the client, what you're seeing. So how this request goes? To the server. Right? To the via web service. So you put this is the client, and you put your username and password. But you got here, though you put the valid username and password, but you're getting error message. Then how you know whether your request goes to the server or not? So that's why like you're going to check, right? So putting here, say, come on. So basically, that developer tools that are going to help whether your request really goes to the server or not. That's all like you're going to debug, and then look at whether the request sends to the server and what kind of web services then it's working. That's what like even in init install go with SOAP-UI, those kind of tools nowadays, right? There is a DHCP plugin that comes with Google Chrome that is useful to test your web service. Even no need to get the tools like SOAP-UI. Those are very simple things nowadays, right? Everything is open source. You might have heard like open source tools. Like you should know how to use those open source tools. Like why Selenium is so popular because it's open source. like automation. Similarly, there are other open source tools like DHCP plugin. That's useful to test the web services. No need to go with the Sophia and that kind of tools. So here, like say if you put, and then if you bring these developer tools, so that is going to get you, if you go to the network, then if you put the username and password, you can monitor all your network. This way it's going to display the web services, right? What web service is called, and you got the response 200, and that way you can monitor and escalate the issues. Hey, this is what actually I'm getting the response. You can tell the developer, this is what I see here. Similarly, like these are the, like we're talking about the browser application, mobile versions, right? So this way, like you'll get all the mobile versions of this your web application. So you're going to test it, like how your application looks in iPad, or if your application looks in iPhone. These are the different compatible versions. Okay, so these are the things like basically you should know how the things works. So no need to go with big applications, big softwares, because all these are all the open source tools. Okay, all right. So that's all for today. So if you still have any questions, like as I mentioned, you can